somebody so young like you could potentially be one of the youngest podcasters out there. At least it is inspiring for a lot of people that when you are in your early 20s.
Yeah. Culture first companies were going to be successful for sure is what I believe.
I feel the culture has to be about thinking about the customer. Here in bus industry, you don't have a choice.
If some guy approaches you and telling you that this is something what I wanted to build, a great idea, would you think to join? How to build a brand, especially in these service-based businesses.
Interestingly, when you are part of an industry where Seva is the KPI, right? Then I don't really think that there's anything else required to build a brand other than Seva.
I received a message that like your boss is cancelled. So how do you tackle this?
The way we try to solve is that
Attitude or skill set?
when you're spending money, you would want to have both, right? Attitude, definitely you can and you should assess during the job interview. So if I were to choose between these two, attitude is very important.
Hi Rohit.
Hi Teja.
Thanks for being on my show.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all the support. But I still remember the day when I texted you, like you told me whatever you were doing, Teja, like I'll be there to support. Those words like still give me goosebumps. Okay, thanks for being that empathetic to me. And
No, absolutely. I'm amazed that somebody so young can be so visionary to even think about calling so many people for the podcast. And I absolutely understand your, I'll not call it failures yet, but I'm sure a lot of people would have said no. So, and I didn't want to be the one saying no. And I was telling you that somebody so young like you could potentially be one of the youngest podcaster out there, or at least I can say that at least it is inspiring for a lot of people that when you are in your early 20s, and I don't remember what I was doing when I was in my early 20s, so you should definitely live up to your dreams. And you told me that it is your third startup.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say no, obviously.
Thank you for that words. I wanted this to be very usual discussion, okay? I don't want it to be in a particular restricted way, okay? You understood, right? Like, so to begin with, let's start. What is your typical day in your office? Like, what is your day-to-day task?
Yeah, so it's been pretty long working at Abhibus. So back in the day, it would be more about chasing those key numbers. But I think now it is more about challenging the local maxima. So it is more about going there and making sure that we look at a number that we did not look yesterday. If you have seen a number yesterday, there should be automation to make that number be self-spoken. It should pop out. You have amazing tools nowadays so that you don't have to type and you don't have to read a lot of numbers from the dashboards. The numbers do land in your Slack or WhatsApp or email box, right? So yeah, that's at least one of the things that I try to do.
So while you're saying like, you said like numbers, right? Like I just wanted to understand how big is Abhibus?
Abhibus, I would say, is not big enough for us to start calling ourselves the best app out there. I think there's always, the glass is always half full.
Optimistic.
Yeah, but it is that, like I said earlier, that it is about the point of view. Like I typically joke that when we try to interview somebody or when we try to meet somebody outsider, and it is not Abhibus story, but it is more of an India story that somebody asks that, oh, how much does Abhibus do, or how much is this industry? And let's say we throw a number which is a few tens of thousands, and then they say per month, and then we say no, per day. And that number could be maybe per hour in a few maybe years to come or months to come.
Few months going forward.
Because that is how large the population of the country is. And talking about big, I always say that working in India and working for a company that serves in India, if you're not growing at a rapid pace, I think that business is not worth doing. So Abhibus is just starting. We still call ourselves a startup, although we are 18, 19 years old, but we're not big enough.
So after that, like I had very interested about understanding the cultures at the companies. Okay, because culture first companies were going to be successful for sure is what I believe. Okay, so I just wanted to understand what is the culture at Abhibus that you follow, like how you build that culture.
Yeah. So what we were discussing backstage also, it is not about KPIs. I strongly believe that if we just try to chase a number, we all get fixed to that number itself. So since you used culture, the most common attribute that we speak about on the floor every day is NPS and innovation. And I'm just using that very loosely. NPS because uh, we are fortunately or unfortunately serving an industry which is very unorganized,
Very
very fragmented. Like I was telling you backstage that in India, I don't think there is any city, barring maybe a couple of them, where there are designated boarding points for private buses. So
we don't have any, right?
yeah, no, some of them might have where
Which
you don't have
states?
RTCs. I think like Indore has because there is nothing called MP RTC. So
Okay.
Indore is the stage carriers are actually private operators and they build their own ISBTs. And then
There is no involvement from the government.
government hasn't built that. They would have given a space for free. And in Chennai, for example, there is a place called Coimbatore, which is a place designated to omnibus operators. So you have a few, but still in large cities like Hyderabad, for example, or Delhi, they could be up to 25 or 30 boarding points. So there could be one ISBT, but the boarding points can be a few dozen. And when you work in the kind of an industry, I feel the culture has to be about thinking about the customer. And I know a lot of companies and startups speak about customer first approach, but sometimes we don't mean it. Here in bus industry, you don't have a choice. You have to think about it. Otherwise, the customer has a motivation not to book online.
Bus industry or any service business, you mean? Especially bus.
No, every service business has its own challenges and breakpoints. And I'm not saying that bus industry has the highest probability of things going wrong. I'm sure there'll be an industry where things can.
Because there are many other as well.
It could be healthcare where your one mistake by your phlebotomist can do a bad pricking,
Hospitality.
or hospitality, or anywhere where maybe the life is at stake of a customer. There are definitely more tougher things out there, but bus industry definitely is one of the ones where customers might have stopped expecting because he's so used to of going and standing in the queue, paying an extra 10% to the conductor to just get a seat, right? Or being outrightly rejected that I'll not let you sit because I'm biased. So at least online travel aggregation or internet in general, when the boom started in India about 15 years back, it is very democratic thing, right? An operator cannot refuse a customer by color, race, age, or anything else because he has already booked the ticket online.
It was democratized.
And it is a predefined contract which you cannot refuse, right? And then as the time progresses and with the use of technology, those experiential benefits are increasing more and more, that like we were discussing about a few other industries where customers can't even think about going back into the time and transact that the way they were transacting without the online entity.
It was irreversible what we said.
Yes.
Let's go back when you were in 20s. Okay. Assume that you were in 20s. Which sector would you choose to go and build a brand or to go and build a product?
See, I'll be very honest, startup culture was not there. I wouldn't have really thought about any startup to join back then. But if given a chance now, I think there were a lot of disruptions that could be done back then. A lot of people did amazing job when I was in my early 20s, and I'm sure people, somebody was building Book My Show, somebody was building Naukri.com, Jeevan Sathi, Shadi. These were all the companies that were actually born in the early 2000s. So Ixigo, right? It was formed back then. So but I wouldn't really have dared to think about building such startups because it requires a lot of courage. It requires a lot of challenging the status quo. Like I was telling you backstage, that today also most of the innovations that we think of doing, the first reaction that we hear from around is that it's not going to happen. It is very difficult.
Negative things are
Negative things, because people feel that whatever is happening, and generally humans are lazy species, right? We spend almost 90% of our times sitting or sleeping, right? We walk less than 10% of the time when we are up or we stand, right? Usual humans, right? So we always sort of react negatively to any innovation, and that is the reason probably back in the day I wouldn't have really thought about building a startup or working for a startup, let alone. And why not, why 20 years back, even when I graduated, and when I even my first job was not a startup.
Yeah, that is great. So I wanted to ask one varied question, Rohit. This is something what I can't resist without asking it. If some guy approaches you and tell that this is something what I wanted to build, a great idea, would you join? Would you think to join that guy's team?
No, absolutely. You are the right example, right? You approached me, and I think I couldn't say no, because I love the energy and passion for your craft. And I don't know whether you count, but I'm part of your team now, right?
Thanks for being actually.
We were discussing backstage also about some of the ideas about making podcast success, and how there could be 1,000 types of podcasters, but you have certain skills that can X factor, or more importantly, believing in the kind of content that you're creating. If you continue to do that, you excel, and definitely I'm pretty much open, and I'm part of your team now.
Thank you for being that. So after all the things, right? Like I just wanted to talk on building brands. How to build a brand, especially in these service-based businesses.
Yeah, so the answer mostly lies in the question itself, right? Because it is a service industry, as you call it. I'm not just calling bus ticketing, but interestingly, I was just Googling the other day about service, and the literal Hindi translation is seva.
Yeah.
Right.
In Telugu itself.
Right.
You also seva.
So when you're part of an industry where seva is the KPI, right? Then I don't really think that there's anything else required to build a brand other than seva, right? So particularly talking about Abhibus, the approach for us to build a brand has always been about building the touch points, solving the problems that help people, even though now that we may not have enough resources, or we may not have at time, you always are maybe challenged to even take further risk. But I feel that there'll be a day when we are able to assist every elderly, every woman, every child, right, who's struggling to board a bus, who is not able to cope up with those challenging environments, that chilling winter night, or that one dropping point where there's nobody around us. When we keep thinking about those problem statements, there'll definitely be a light bulb moment one day when we'll think about, yes, I can resolve this like this. That moment may not come today, may not come this year, but the only reason that we continue thinking about it, and we continue talking about it, and we continue criticizing ourselves that, oh, we have not been able to do enough to make people feel good while traveling, makes us feel that we are not a brand that we want to be, right? And at the same time, bus as an industry, I typically tell agencies or creative people who want to work with us that if you really want to help us, answer one question, that how can you make people fall in love with bus travel again?
With the service that they get.
Yes, because there are airport looks. People dress up like celebrities, because celebrities like to be clicked outside of an airport, right? But is there a bus look? Do you feel as excited when you want to board a bus that you feel about boarding a flight, right? Even though I believe that taking a flight is twice more cumbersome because you have to take a cab, you have to reach the airport, right? That is a cost.
Boarding,
and then you have to go through a couple of times security frisking, and then you have to be there a couple of hours or at least an hour and a half prior, right? And between all of these time taken, you could reach your destination by bus, right? Like in Bangalore, there is a joke that you can reach from Bangalore to Hyderabad or Bangalore to Chennai faster.
Bangalore to Hyderabad bus is more convenient than
the flight itself, right? So the war cry here, the brand methodology, and I'm not saying that we are a brand already, so that answer is anyways invalidated. But if we were to become a brand that everybody loves and everybody cares about and everybody wants to use and refer, I think we have to solve these problems and we have to continue solving this problem. But since you asked and I have to answer that, one of the effort that we made is Assured, which is probably one of its kind, global first service assurance program for bus industry, which lets you travel for free for any touch point or any step in the bus journey going wrong. Right, so I'll not get commercial here.
This is actually daring decision, right? Because things were not in our hand, right? So if I wanted to put this around, like to building a brand, customer experience is the thing, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk, while talking about the customer experience, right? I'll tell you one example. It is not from Abhibus, it is not from, I don't want to name the things. It is from an OTA platform. Okay, one OTA platform. I booked a ticket. 3 hours I'm left to board the bus. Okay. I received a message that like your bus is cancelled. I don't have any other option planned prior.
Yeah.
I was about to take that bus. That was my plan. So it was cancelled. My experience went wrong.
Yeah.
But the OTA platform, right? It is not the culprit here. So how do you tackle these things?
Again, you can't solve problems if you start disqualifying yourself. I think OTAs are partially responsible for that. And the experience that you went through, we very aggressively and very passionately approach those encounters or those complaints or grievances. I have a lot of personal examples where I would have really felt like crying that a girl who wrote on Twitter in a private message to me, to Abhibus, in private message, that I am from Noida, up north from UP, and I came for a conference in Cochin, and I had booked a government bus, which the boarding point was 11:30 p.m. and right now it is 1:30 and somebody told me that the bus is cancelled.
Yeah, these are the bitter experiences.
So, and I think if we all continue to think that it is bus operators' problem, then nobody will be really ready to solve those things. So the way we try to solve is that if we cannot give you replacement, at least we should give you something that can help you come out of the problem. It could be monetary, it could be providing an alternate road transportation option, if not bus. It could be just being there to speak to you, which is sometimes businesses don't really care about, but being strict about with your customer support team, that it doesn't matter that you might have to be on the call, because we all have our goals to chase, that call should not be more than X hour, minutes and all that.
There are some SOPs.
There are certain SOPs, but in these kind of scenarios, when you know that somebody, a pregnant lady traveling, somebody's mother traveling alone, right? Somebody getting late for their job interviews, right? These things, and sometimes you be in a situation where you know that you can't even compensate that, right? And being in travel business, you know that these are part and parcel of your...
These hurdles are part and parcel.
These are your occupational hazards that you have to constantly start thinking about that. And the best part, like we were talking about, that culture of writing and brainstorming, there is an Excel sheet where we keep writing those scenarios, and some of them might sound repetitive, right? Someday, somebody will get a great idea to fix that particular line item, which could be just about somebody getting late for their flight, because a lot of people might take bus to catch a flight from the airport. So you have certain responsibilities. Connecting travel. So some of the things can be solved technologically, right? By just providing them or linking a flight tickets with them. And that's where Ixigo is such a unique combination of brands where you have bus, flights, and trains, and now they have hotels also,
Hotels also.
right? So when you start listing those things down, it is almost like manifestation that you have listed 120 customers negative touch points or break areas, which a lot of companies might say these are edge cases, right? These happen only once in a quarter with one customer. But when you start writing them down and that list becomes maybe 1,000, and then normally people get scared that list is big enough, but revisiting that list, talking about that, keep mentioning about that the way I'm mentioning right now, I think it's like it resonates, and somebody is constantly thinking, or you're not letting people forget that these are the problems that we will only have to resolve. So I'll humbly disagree that it has to be everybody's problem. If a customer who's traveling and he has your brand associated, anything that goes wrong, you have to at least aspire to fix those things in the future.
Yeah, that is actually building a good customer experience, I feel. Back in the place like what we are discussing, right? American Express customer service.
Yeah.
That was something what I look up to.
Yes.
If I wanted to build any service-based businesses, right? Like we call American Express, we tell them certain tasks, even if it is not their business to do. They'll still try to do and complete the task and make the customer happy.
Absolutely.
The American customer happy. So these are the things would you want to follow in the...
No, absolutely. And I
Abhibus?
think the critical part here is that it should not be by chance or by accident that one of your customer support person, because he's so great, left that kind of a amazing wow experience. Every single customer care touch point of American Express, by design, by SOP, they have built that cookie cutter approach that it has to be standard. The experience that you get from their call center will be as identical as a pizza coming out of Domino's in any part of India from any restaurant, right? Whether it is Ludhiana or Lakshadweep, if there is a Domino's pizza, the size, shape, the amount of cheese is standardized. So we definitely aspire, like I was telling you about this example of American Express. At the same time, we want to become that standard, that gold standard that people should call and say. And that is why I would want to invite you to do a bus booking on Abhibus and try and speak into our customer care in the wee hours, especially because intercity bus in India, they typically board late evening and it's an overnight journey.
Yeah.
Try and speak to them when you are in a bus travel and give me that feedback. So I think we want to be that standard. At least aspirationally, we want to become a better
the customer service.
In customer service, that the customer should and I think it resonates also. I think majority of our bookings are from the older customers who have done bookings in the past. So that is a reflection that people are happy about, not just the booking experience, but post booking and during journey and post journey experience also. And hence they come back and do the transaction with you again.
That's nice. So moving forward to the next things, have you been a customer to your competitors at any day?
Yeah, every time. I think you have to really use not just your competitor, I would say, but globally anyone who is in your business or identical business. And I'm not just counting bus ticketing, but train ticketing, metro booking, taxi hailing, for that matter, anything, even from bike hailing to anything. I would have, at least this is at a cultural level, we encourage people to book. We encourage our own people to not just travel by booking with Abhibus, but also try and experience others also.
Travel other platforms as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that is when there is a thing like, right, the great way of understanding the competition is being the customer of the platform. Because that is what I believe. That's the reason I've asked you the question. Yeah. So that sums up very good answer for all those things, right? So one thing I wanted to put is, to run any bigger organizations or any startups, right? Like the team is the major role. It plays a key role actually, right? For that, hiring has been the crucial. People think that it is easy, but it is not actually. one thing I wanted to ask is like, will you still involve today by in this role? Like, you still pick the candidates that this guy is good, this guy is still involved in this process?
Senior leadership is always excited to screen, to talk to talent before they join us. And but it should not just stop there. It should. That's just the beginning, right? You hire a good people, you hire a not so good person, right? You know, you sometimes, like, I always, when we look even back in the day, I strongly feel in the KSA model, which is knowledge, skill, and ability, and it is not very easy to find a person that who has the knowledge about the trait, the skill about the trait, and ability also, which now can be replaced as a passion. So knowledge, skill, and passion. You may have somebody who just have one of these three or two of these three, but then the job that you have starts from there, that you have to start working with that person, on that person, right? You are a founder of a startup yourself. In fact, you told me that you did 2 startups before that.
Yeah.
At such a early, the startup founder is supposed to be somebody who should know most of the traits, right? You should be a good clerk. You should know the GST and TDS rules.
Everything.
Yeah, you should know the tech side of it. You told me that you built the app yourself. You should be the brand expert, if not the expert. So that is a skill you have.
Yeah.
So when you have all those skills yourself, then what you're looking at hiring is somebody who's better than you,
Yeah.
right? And that is any startup person's dream. That what if I'm able to build that dream team, that Ocean's 11, which has person who has better skill or better passion or better knowledge in that particular trait better than you.
Because there is something called you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
Right. I want to ask one straight question, like attitude or skill set?
No, when you're spending money, you would want to have both, right? That is where you have the job portals, so you can screen. But no, I agree where you're coming from. That attitude, definitely you can and you should assess during the job interview. So if I were to choose between these two, attitude is very important, because in the world of automation and AI, I don't think there is any skill that is very exclusive or you cannot obtain in 3 months. Maybe programming was one skill which you might require a longer certification or a training program, maybe a year, couple of years for you to become expert in .NET or Java back in the day. But with the usage of AI, even that skill
Has become very
can
easy.
be obtained maybe over a period of 3 to 6 months, right? Or you can have a bot to do that for you. So if you have that person who has an attitude that I can learn anything, I can maybe spend extra hours to hone my skills, I feel that then that makes attitude be the priority.
I'll agree, because that is my expected answer also, because skills are something that can be learned, because attitude you have to build, right?
True.
So yeah, let's talk about brand endorsements. I mean, every B2C companies are having brand ambassadors, right? It could be celebrities, it could be cricketer. I mean, celebrities or cricketers would also fall into the celebrities category. I want to understand, like, how big it is actually leveraging the brands. Any brand, you say, like any industry, not just this travel industry or any industry, like D2C brands, B2C brands, or B2B brands are also nowadays hiring these brand ambassadors, like, right? So how big the leverage would be? I mean, I wanted to understand that.
See, before the leverage, I think the question that you should ask yourself is my brand ambassador ready? A lot of businesses do this mistake, and I'm not saying that we are the best, but or we might have also done that mistake maybe sometime or in my previous organization. If your brand is not ambassador ready, it is not going to give you the benefit. And a lot of companies nowadays who raise funds very fast, the first thing that they do is to jump on hiring an ambassador, right? It might be a great strategy, but if your product market fit is not there, if there is no demand for that product, or if the cultural matching of the ambassador with your product is not going, it might not give any impact, or it might give a negative impact also, right? That temptation in brand space to do everything that others are doing, right? The definition of an ambassador has really changed, right? For a lot of brands, the influencers can be an ambassador.
Yeah, nowadays the marketing has shifted to brand ambassador to the influencer marketing.
Influencer marketing, right? Where you might have one influencer as your permanent face, or you might try 1,000 influencers on tactical basis. Even at times, if your brand or your business is not ready for that thing, it can backfire. It could be just a waste of money for you. So the question that you would ask yourself is that, what is the perfect time for me to even think about a brand ambassador? And then the question comes is, who should be the brand ambassador? If I can delay that process and build my business, my touch points, the SOPs organically, and win customers. Like I was watching the interview of Boat Entertainment founder Aman Gupta. He was sharing his early days memory that when he launched Boat, he would go to these electronic shops and try to give a demo of the product. And invariably, the shop owners would say, I'll let you know, I'll call you. So what he started doing funnily, he basically started sending his mother and his wife. So first day he sent his mother to that shop and said, do you have that Boat speaker? And the next day
he created the market.
He created that market, but then he kept waiting that will the shop owner calls me. And he said after like waiting for a few days, he ultimately got a call and the shop guy said, yeah, please send me two boxes there, right? Or 3 boxes or whatever, right? So I think that is being a startup founder, and you are the brand ambassador. Yeah, the entrepreneur's mindset is that you are the brand ambassador. Today, if your podcast becomes so big, I don't think you need a brand ambassador to say this is a great podcast. You are the brand ambassador, right? The way you conduct, the way you talk. If you yourself are not carrying the legacy of your brand, the values of your brand, then you don't expect an outsider who might never even use your brand, interestingly, right? And you expect him to advocate your brand. I think it doesn't make any sense, right? So we've been very cognizant in selecting the brand ambassador. We thought that we believed in catching the brand ambassador young at early stage, when the brand is also young, they're also young, so that when we look back retrospectively, it is a great marriage, right? It's a great marriage of an ambassador it's a win-win situation. Plus, I think we're talking about Mahesh Babu here. He's an amazing human being, amazing person, very humble, as the Telugu film industry knows him for. Probably one of the best human being out there, right? So
by summing up all these things, so what I mean to say is, like, brand ambassadors will help the product reach to the masses.
Yes.
Then again, product has to speak.
Absolutely.
Right? So that is the key takeaway.
Yeah.
Basically.
And for that matter, you might not need a brand ambassador.
Okay.
Right.
To reach the masses, like, there are other channels as well. What you mean to say is, right? Yeah. So by this, like, I just want to conclude the things, Rohit. Again, we talked about everything, and the insights what you gave actually very valuable, I feel. And I wanted to keep traveling with you the longer journey, not just for this podcast, right? So thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for giving these valuable insights.
No, I absolutely learned a lot of things from you. Backstage. No, and I think you have a great energy.
Thank you,
I really wish that you do well.
Thank you again. Let's keep this journey forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Looking forward to all the best.
Yeah.